In today's video, we look at the law of the golden calf, a heretic idol, the daddy issues of another head of the court, why that serpent head loves creating whilst lacks creativity, and this leads his actions down a dark path. So let's explore that. Welcome back to the trenches, and let's begin. To the uninitiated, the black arts of Goetic magic are a thing of mystery, of bargains, pleas, contracts, and rituals where heretic priests, warlocks, and thaumaturges appeal to their dark patrons to wield supernatural power. Goetic spells can grant immense power to interfere with God's creation, an act of rebellion to match the divine powers on earth. Some schools of thought say it is the acts of torture, sacrifice, and torment which gives the magic its power, and certain demon philosophers of the second circle point to the tyrant god granting Satan permission to torment Job. In that tale, Job, as laid out in the Encyclopedia Britannica, is a prosperous man of outstanding piety. Satan tests whether or not Job's piety is rooted merely in his prosperity. So tested, faced with the appalling loss of his possessions, his children, and finally his own health, Job still refuses to curse God. Three of his friends then arrive to comfort him. The talk and what follows are speeches that contain Job's disputes with his three friends and his conversations with God. Job proclaims his innocence and the injustice of his suffering, while his comforters argue that Job is being punished for his sins. In the end, Job speaks to God, and God resolves the dramatic tension, but without solving the problem of undeserved suffering. The speeches evoke Job's trust in the purposeful activity of God in the affairs of the world, even though God's ways with man remain mysterious and inscrutable. So you can see how those chats in the second circle between demon philosophers tie into that story of Job. To carry on with the law, the more nihilistic and fatalist schools of thought say there is no rebellion and believe they are simply following God's plan laid out at the very beginning of creation. They have no say in the matter. It is their nature to persecute humanity and to eventually topple God as the world he created becomes ever more solid and tainted. In the strictest manner, Goetic magic is not directly usable by mere mortals, while the sorcerers and other fell creatures of the court are capable of tapping directly into the swell of Goetic power, thanks to their supernatural origins. Human heretics can only act as conduits of the power infernal. Instead, the heretic priests beseech their patron demons for supernatural intervention. In return, the lords of hell then command their followers to kill for them, both on the battlefield and by dragging innocents to the desecrated altars erected in their name. One of the most insidious gifts the demon lords bestow upon their dark ministry is unnaturally long life. It is the most fervent wish of most heretics, users of Goetic magic, to extend their lifespans so they can enjoy the fruits of luxury for longer than any faithful noble or rich merchant ever could. Addicted to the power and opulence of their status, they become ever more desperate to halt the march of time. Such heretic priests find that the rejuvenation they are granted wanes faster after each new sacrifice, driving them to commit ever worsening atrocities in their quest to postpone death. In return for these diminishing extensions of their life, their patron will demand them to take greater risks to achieve their aims. The end is always the same. The devil will have his due, and the souls of their servants go to their fiery doom, replaced by new, ever more ambitious supplicants. Thus many heretic warbands travel with an altar dedicated to their fell patrons. Of all the myriad obsidian tables, sacrificial stones, totems, and graven images, it is the blasphemous idols of the golden calf that are the best known and most dreaded by the faithful. The golden calf within real-world belief is centered around Moses. Whilst getting the Ten Commandments, the Israelites become impatient. The brother of Moses makes a god from jewellery for them to worship, dubbed the golden calf. Moses, as you can imagine, is not too happy when he sees this idol and breaks the 10 Commandments, which were written on tablets he was carrying. The calf is melted down, and some are made to drink it, so they can see how that important moment is characteristically turned on its head to empower the followers of the court. Perhaps other idols from other beliefs might do similar things, with each empowering those who have turned their back on their certain god. During major invasions, entire processions of war altars come forth with heretic armies. The largest ones are towering statues, their fires tended by scores of heretic priests, wielding knives and staffs. They are often mounted on tracked vehicles, standing on high daisies so they can be brought to the front. There the heretic priests can tap into the aura they emanate, where victims are tossed into the fire within. These idols represent slaughter on an industrial scale, for many of the greatest of heretic weapons require the reality warping corruption of goetic magic to function. The dreaded heretic artillery uses shells encased in goetic runes, which cause madness as well as physical destruction. Without the black touch of the winds of goetic magic, the sentient barbed wire would simply fall into an inanimate state. Competition for the most extravagant and god idols is fierce between their demon lords, and no more so than the rivalry between the serpent heads of the court, reflecting the poisonous politicking of hell itself. Many lordly demons use the altars of the golden calf as a conduit between themselves and their followers. Mammon claims them solely for himself as a symbol of his wealth and rapacity, but it is Moloch, the current serpent head of envy, that is the most keen of all the infernal nobles in urging his followers to bring ever more victims to die in the fires beneath the golden calf. Moloch in real-world lore, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, is a Canaanite deity associated in biblical sources with the practice of child sacrifice. This dude looks like a bull-headed idol, and there seems to be a debate on the name and what it means, with that argument not yet settled, yet long debated. He seems to have links to Solomon, and there is a mention of his performing rituals in Jerusalem, both of which tie nicely into the large lore, Jerusalem being the place destroyed when the gates of hell opened, and Solomon being a key figure behind the magic of the Iron Sultanate. You'll see a lot of this reflected in the actual trench lore we're about to go over. The roots of Moloch's envy run deep into time before time. As his lordly seraphim, he yearned to create followers of his own, but this was the one thing he could never have, and when he learned that even the lowliest of humans were given the gift of life and a promise of creation, a boon denied to Moloch despite his exalted status, his jealousy turned into envy that slowly consumed and corrupted him. Now aeons have passed since the first rebellion, yet nothing has changed for him. Despite his adoring throngs of worshippers, Moloch lacks the thing he craves the most, the power of creation. Missing the true ability to create, Moloch's envy for creation knows no bounds in his bitterness. He covets child sacrifices above all, as it denies these beloved fruits of creation from the followers of his hated father. Heretics in Moloch's service know that capturing entire families will reap them the greatest rewards when they bring the captives to the golden calf, belching smoke and radiating withering heat. It is Moloch's will that the parents see their offspring perish, their anguish being the only thing able to temporarily soothe the envy that gnaws at him day and night. Thus Moloch is known as the devil that bathes in the blood of children, and the tears of their mothers to quell the envy that gnaws at his very being in his place, in his palace, in the sixth circle of hell. He is lost in the labyrinth of his own jealousy and ego. To compensate, it is Moloch who creates the largest number of servants of the court, yoke fiends and sorcerers and hell knights, using blackened shards of broken fall angels to give them a semblance of life. But in his black heart he knows they are but counterfeits, creatures that can only multiply by diminishing themselves, the child remains of their divine origin weakening with every new generation. So Moloch's envy burns ever brighter, matching these sacrificial fires on the altars of the golden calf, as if he's trying to compensate with the suffering of those thrown into that fiery end for the lack of his own genuine creativity. I like the daddy issues we get. It fits in well in terms of his position and the sin he embodies, and echoes similar issues for Beelzebub. I hope as we get more characterization for the serpent heads, we get some more interesting takes than it just being about that same point. Perhaps we could look at relationships between two of the demons themselves, maybe rivals or something, or some past rivalry with the angels when they were up there in heaven before they were cast down. I know, just my opinion. Let me know yours, please, in the comments below. And if you like this video on Trench Crusade, then you might also like this one. And if you want a bunch of videos on Trench Crusade, then why not check out the playlist on the channel.